Managers are with us this evening. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I have one addition to make under the consent agenda, and that is Resolution 25-070, which is basically authorizing the notice for a public hearing on the proposed project for the North Lotus Lake Stormwater Park project. So that should be added under the consent agenda under item 5D. Item 5D. Does anybody have any other changes to the agenda?
I would like to remove item 5A from the consent agenda, mostly just because I want to have a discussion.
Okay.
Vote.
5A.
5A for Ridgewood Ponds.
Any other changes? Okay, hearing none, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the agenda as revised. We got Jill.
Second.
Thank you, Tom. All those in favor of the revised agenda, please say aye. Aye. None opposed. Next, matters of public interest. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? And if so, please identify yourself, your address, and you're limited to 3 minutes. And not necessarily will be answering your question or comment this evening, but we're interested in hearing what you have to say. Anyone who would like to speak? I see Mr. Cook. Please proceed, Mr. Cook.
My name's Larry Cook, reside at 471 Bighorn Drive in Chanhassen, Minnesota. First of all, I'd like to repeat my ongoing objections to this meeting. There not being a quorum of duly appointed managers, and my opinion, anyone acting on the basis of any action taken at this meeting tonight may be acting at their own risk. Also, with respect to the staff report, whenever it'd be possible to add dates for each additional entry so that we could tell when each entry was made. I know there's italicizing, I think, the last entry, but it would be helpful to have dates on that. Importantly about the staff report, 1831 Lake Lucy Lane violation. I mean, this has been going on forever. I can't see, or there's been no demonstrated reason for not proceeding with legal action. This is way too long, and I think sends the wrong message to people about the interest of the watershed to protect its resources if it's not going to follow up with rule violations. I suggest we start enforcing the law and stop violating the law. Excuse me. Also, a question about what happened to the other violation. I believe there were 2 violations actually at one time. I don't. This was one, and I believe there was another. So I appreciate the status update on that. Next item is the proposed resolution for Spring Valley. I believe inaccurately describes the status of the lawsuit, and I think gives a misleading impression to the public in reading it. Other things to be said about that at a later date. Also, question is whether or not St. Hubert's has paid or is commencing to pay for its contribution that it said it was going to make to that project on their property. Then the other thing that struck me was, what if anything was done regarding Kerber Ravine on the revisions or repairs to Frontier Trail? I know it brought it up, but it wasn't clear to me what exactly was done with respect to the ravine. With respect to financing, I find it kind of amazing that the planned levy is over 100%, and I'd like the explanation of that. Also, seems to be at least 15 items that are over budget by double digits. If the report is accurate, and you can go through the list, but as I said, there's at least 15 items where over budget by hundreds of some percent on that basis. I think we have to be prepared to protect the public's money and want to know where the accountability is on this matter. fine, I won't be able to be here for the discussion on the budget, but the information provided, there was no comparison between 2025 or 2024 and the proposed 2026. Seems to me at a minimum, we should be providing that information for people to comment whether or not it was provided back when the budget was adopted on that basis. The other question I have is when we'll be seeing results of the testing on Lotus Lake for water quality impact on alum. It seems to me that I believe the testing was done. And then finally, and notice that there's benefit package to have a discussion or any benefits package. It seems to me if it's for 2026, it's a little late now to be discussing what I would assume to be a significant part of our budget, or at least that part of the budget having to do with employees and their benefits. And with that, if somebody will provide me with the answers to my questions, I would appreciate it. And that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who would like to come before the board? Not seeing any.
I would just like to say here, let's see if I can put
Hi,
myself.
Marilyn.
Hi. You know, I've been hearing and reading more about
Marilyn, we need you to identify yourself and your address, please.
Marilyn Torkelson, 8956 Braxton Drive, Eden Prairie.
Thank you.
And I've been reading more about microplastics, herbicides, pesticides, sort of awful, nasty stuff that is in our water that is, I know probably the city is responsible for a lot, but there's a lot, like microplastics are just floating through the air after we dry our clothes. So I just wondered how we can work with residents and the city to address those types of pollutants, not just, I know we address many other things. That's all.
Thank you, Marilyn. Is there any other member of the public who would like to address the board? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Before we move forward, I would like to say that Mr. Cook has appeared during the public comment period and asserted that our meetings are illegal and that managers Nelson and Crafton had not been lawfully appointed by the Carver and Hennepin County Commissioners. Mr. Cook filed a lawsuit in Hennepin County District Court claiming that the counties had not followed the law in appointing managers Nelson and Crafton, and that he was entitled to a veteran's preference in the appointment process, and that he should have been reappointed to the board. The district contested these claims, as did Carver and Hennepin counties, and on January 29th, Judge Joseph Klein dismissed all of Mr. Cook's claims, finding that they had no legal basis. Mr. Cook appealed this decision, and on October 27th, the Minnesota Court of Appeals ruled against Mr. Cook and affirmed the district court's dismissal of his case. So next item on the agenda would be the reading and approval of the minutes from the November 5th meeting. Looking for a motion here to approve the minutes. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. And do we have any changes to the minutes from the workshop or regular meeting for the November 5th one?
President Pedersen, manager Devel did send me a few typographic errors that I will make available to
Amy.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, hearing no other changes. All those in favor of approving the minutes with the changes that Mr. Duval, Board Member Duval, sent, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Next, we're on to committee and member reports. Receive the November 17th Citizens Advisory Committee report and minutes, and I'm assuming that would be you, correct, Marilyn? Oh,
Yes.
Yes.
I really have nothing to report beyond what was in those minutes. It was 2 meetings ago.
I do have a question. There was it says in the minutes, if I recall, that the Watershed District was partnering with Salt Watch, and I'm not sure that's what we talked about at the meeting. I think Jill brought up that Isaac Walton has a Salt Watch program. If you can,
Okay,
so I think it's a error.
Well, 9 Mile Creek is definitely partnering.
I can't open, my internet's not connecting.
So I didn't
Open
know
up
if there
the
was
CAC.
discussion about that.
Oh, on the bottom here. It says, here, Eleanor provided an update on the Watershed District becoming an official Salt Watch partner. I don't recall that ever being presented. I
Oh.
recall Jill talking about Isaac Walton's Salt Watch program.
I thought somebody had mentioned that
So,
at the CAC meeting.
President, I can't speak to that. As far as I know.
it's what Eleanor said at the meeting is what's represented there. And I was at the meeting. I don't recall her.
Saying that. Marilyn, do you recall anything to that?
well, I'm an Ike, so I know all about the Salt Watch program there, so I don't,
You don't recall it was discussed at the CAC meeting?
right. I know that there was the presentation. So, yeah, I will question that and get back to the CAC for the manager's input that you want confirmation of that
Okay,
or
thank you.
clarification on that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments to the CAC? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much, Marilyn.
Sure.
On we go to the November 13th Personnel Committee report and minutes. We sent you the minutes from November. We also met last Thursday and went through the personnel handbook, made a significant number of changes. So you'll be seeing that coming up fairly shortly. We also had some of the benefits questions answered by North Risk Partners. The quote for life insurance, for optional voluntary life insurance, we have not received anything back yet on that. We have made the decision to recommend that we take Delta Dental and Delta Vision, being a little bit less expensive for single, and then adding vision on where you can actually use it to buy glasses, which our prior policy did not have any coverage for that. Made that a fairly easy decision to make. I think, am I covering everything, Terry?
Yeah. Waiting on an additional quote on life insurance from Mutual of Omaha. We're going to get one. Not holding our breath for that one.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I think that's it. So I think we're pretty set for 2026 benefits. Does anybody have any questions of the Personnel Committee? Okay, hearing none. Off we are to the November Administrator Report.
President Pedersen, managers, apologize I didn't get this to you sooner. We had quite a week, quite a busy week, exciting week. So I won't go through all the items on this. Please feel free as you read it to give me a call if there are certain things you have questions on, but information technology. So we have two vendors that are recently new, Streamline, who's been doing our website now for a year. They provide that accessibility on our site where documents can be converted into an accessible document. We were using it on a trial basis, and originally they were going to go, it was 5 cents per page, which was an astronomical fee for us. I think they've heard from a number of different people that they work with, and they are now going with a flat rate of $2,400 a year, which monthly would have worked out to be pretty close to that. So that's good. We have until 2027 in the state of Minnesota to come into compliance with the law, but we're just going to go with it in 2026 because it's there for a reason. The DTS, Data Technological Services, is doing our IT. I sent out an email last week of a screenshot. That is their spam filter. So there's allow, release, and block. Release will just release a single email. Like I've got a vendor that sends me courses all the time. So I like to get occasionally them, but I get spam by them. So I release those. Allow is if you have someone, so Minnesota Watersheds was getting caught in my filters. I just allowed those through. But so far the onboarding has gone well. And some glitches, but we've been happy thus far with that. And they've taken over management of all of our online applications, which has been nice because there'd been individuals applying, getting what they needed, and got to be kind of a mess. So that's IT. Accounting, we talked about it briefly. We met with Mary Dunn on the 15th on Monday. I thought it was a really productive meeting. Treasurer DeVell might have thoughts on it, but they were really, just the communication alone was fantastic. Anticipating our needs, really receptive. They have just a team email address for us that goes to everybody on the team. So somebody's always available to respond to us. They're going to be taking lead on the 2025 audit with obvious contingencies of Redpath needs to supply it. So I will be requesting all of our data from Redpath, something they need to talk to me about. And so what really well will be converting to QuickBook Online. It should eliminate a lot of those pinch points and inflection points where error was introduced. I've got them set up now with US Bank, 4M, with associated payroll services. So they're ready to roll. Minnesota paid family leave. Pedersen and I sat through quite a presentation on it. I've got a lot of our legal requirements finished. The notification, their notification forms have been signed and released. I'm working on the employee wage disclosure forms right now. I need to set up our DEED account so that we can run through it. And then there are some forms that are coming out of the personnel handbook that I'm going to have to generate and make those available. So we're working on all of that. Water resource technician. We advertised for that in the middle of November. So just a quick bring it back up to speed. Andrew Hartman was in that position. He has moved over and taken over Matt Nikolai's position. We really wanted somebody in this position who had experience, who Josh could rely on to go out to supervise interns and seasonal employees. So we received 26 applicants. 20 of them were exceptional.
Wow.
It was a really good pool of candidates. So Eleanor and Josh started going through the day and putting together a metric of qualifications and where they're at. We'll start interviewing, start calling to set up interviews this week and next, so we can get someone in place by the first of the year, at least before the 1st of February, so that they're ready when the data collection season starts. We also then will have the seasonal position. So Josh and I are going to table at Hennepin County Technical College, a few others, because we've been primarily relying on the handshake, which just goes to the MinSKU system. And so trying to broaden that reach, see what else we can get in there. Henderson talked earlier, David Drown Associates is putting together a review packet that'll go to all of you for my review. And then heard back from a few organizations about what their COLA is, and we're looking anywhere 2.8 to 3%. So what we're seeing there. Handbook's been drafted. We went through it at the personnel committee. With the second meeting in January, we may well be able to bring it back at that January 21st meeting. I'm not going to promise we will. There was a lot of changes we made to it, but I think we're in a really good spot with it. Talked about the benefits, so I won't go over that. Spring Road Conservation Project. There's been a lot of activity in this last week, but I think the long and the short of it is we're in really good shape to have the closing documents in place that we need. All of the information that the DNR has requested on the appraisal, and there was a lot of it, has been there. They solicited bids for review of it. Those are due on the 26th of December, with the caveat that because of the amount of money, it needs to go to the commissioner of the DNR for signature. So it'll be a couple of weeks after that before we get it. We've got the title work going. And then kind of related to that, I met with Dan Shaw and the graduate student who presented to you spring this year, summer of this year. She has completed an overall site restoration plan. So I'm going to talk to Carly Whitner from Eden Prairie because they have the adjoining property. We'll review it internally and then meet with her again with any comments. Tentatively in March, she wants to get before the board and talk about the plan and get your input and feedback on it. Going back to our earlier conversation, though, that might be a really good thing for her to do with the CAC or invite the CAC to that, depending on her schedule. So met with a couple of architectural firms at both the Midwest Climate Resiliency Conference and the Water Resources, not Water Resource Conference, MAUD. We specialize in resilient architectural design. So I'm putting together the RFP. I will get that to Manager Stovring and Pedersen, who I believe you were the committee here in early January for your comment, feedback on it. Upper Riley Creek, we're moving right along and then not. We've got 4 of the 6 private property ownership agreements executed. I have a new owner for 1000 Park Road. Optimistic about that one. For 1001. 1000, I'm less optimistic about it. In talking with Engineer Sobiak, I think if we don't get that last piece in, we could still move forward with 80% of the project area, still be as good as it could be, but at some point we just kind of need to cut bait. Move on there. North Lotus Lake, we talked earlier, we tabled at the Chanhassen open house. Overall, I thought the response was positive. There were a few comments about, maybe you could cut some costs here, or is that pier really what we need in that? So there were a few things, and we'll take that back to the design team. But we're working forward on that. We'll hold the public hearing January to order the project. Just as a reminder, ordering is only to put together plan specs and bid documents, not necessarily to build it. Whole Lake Management Plan, that's moving along nicely. So we should have something. So right now we need to really kind of work on the engagement. How are we going to get the residents and more than just the lakeshore owners to come in and comment on it? So we're talking about a series of three increasingly more granular type of meetings and how to divide them out. But the lake response model is being built right now. Wetland assessments are all completed, the fisheries assessments and shoreland are all done. So moving along well.
Terry, are you gonna do some of that through the lake associations then?
Yeah, so but what we want to try and do is not have it just be a lake association driven thing, because we want to do a whole lake management. Yeah. So Mitchell Lake, met with Mitchell Lake Association Monday it was. They're excited for it. They definitely want to be involved. So we will involve them. Red Rock is the other one. And then Lucy. And then Duck Lake is not Duck Lake, I'm sorry. Susan is part of it. And I met with Susan, residents, the mayor of Chanhassen, and staff last week. They are really trying to push us to change our adaptive lake management strategy and go with the nano bubble technology, which I have told them we have successfully delisted 3 lakes using this plan. To take that and go to a more expensive, increased maintenance approach is probably not going to fly.
Has Josh been part of those discussions or? No?
Josh has been in the background. I didn't really want to bring him into I try and let him always be the one people like to see.
I only asked because he's gonna go to the DNR roundtable too. and it might come up.
No, he's definitely aware of it. So yeah, I've been consulting with him on it.
Yeah, I think we should promote what we're doing. So.
Yep, absolutely. We talked about the Natural Resource Partnership Coalition earlier, met with the park. The park is the Prince land. They're trying to close out the permit. There are some buffer issues on the site, so we met with Lennar and the city to try and work through that. And then we met with District 112 today. They are, and I just want to plant the seed. We didn't tell them yes or no. They are inquiring if they can meet stormwater credit by buying back the reuse system that we constructed on Chanhassen High School. So we didn't give them any decision other than to say that would be up to the board to decide. So we'll keep you apprised of that as it goes on. This was just kind of a preliminary conversation. See that. So with that, I hope I got through that quick enough to not keep us here till 10, but if you have any questions, please ask them now or feel free to call me or email me and I'm happy to talk to you.
Somewhat sideways related. Talked about the North Lotus Lake Stormwater Park. If we do have comments on there, is there a time or place to be submitting them? That would be helpful,
Well,
versus too far along.
Yes, so the public hearing that we will be so next meeting, we're calling the public hearing.
Okay.
So it would be that following meeting, February, when we have the public hearing, that would be the time for people to comment. That will go out in our email blast, anybody that's on that listserv and be posted on our website. The public hearing is being held, so. But yes, that would be the time to do it. They can always submit written comments at any point.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, receive November staff report. I think we kind of combined everything together, didn't we? Any questions on that?
I have questions.
Yes.
First of all, I do want to, have to say, reiterate Mr. Cook's comments is that have a hard time identifying what's updated and when it's updated and feel like I'm asking for information that has happened a long time ago. So
Would you like us to just remove old information? I keep it in there just as reminder of these are the things that were discussed in the past, but if you'd rather just have it be a clean, this is new for the preceding month, happy to do that.
I like being the.
I think so.
What it is about.
Some way to identify what's new and keep the history there. I mean,
Well, that's what we've been doing with italicized in there
Yeah.
to show the new as italicized.
Maybe just put that in some notes at the beginning that the updates are italicized.
Do that.
Just separate them out a little bit, like maybe in their own paragraph. Sized, because when it's all blended together.
So that's actually another question I've had. So that's part of why I separated my administrator's report out of it, was to keep separate. We could certainly do like a DC report, an E&O report, a wetland report, and then the administrator's report, and then you just have those as a collection.
I like
We're,
this. This is really good.
The staff
Easy
report,
to read.
I think the staff report is enough that you have the areas delineated there. I just think it's easier if you either say at the beginning, bold items are, preceding months, something like that, just to kind of remind people. Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah, just a little clearer.
Yeah.
And not to blend everything all in one paragraph.
And-
It's older.
right. So something like the St. Hubert Water Quality Project, it's like we intend to invoice them in the spring of 2025 and it stops there.
Oh, and Lori Hack's name is misspelled.
So there's things that ask for, you read it, so it's like, yes, that was true, but has there not been an update since then?
there has not. I mean, the remain, so that's actually left over for me because I just go in and look at the staff report, what's new.
Mm-hmm.
So, we had issues with the reestablishment on that site. So I have been waiting for that. to
So I
happen.
remember that conversation, but I read this and that conversation is not there. So I know there was some issues, but I couldn't
Yeah, so
find.
my intent now is to meet with Rob. I'm blanking on his last name. He's the administrator over there. And see that he is satisfied and it's restored and then invoice him next cycle. It's a plan, because really what we're invoicing him for are things that really were outside the project scope. It was the playground equipment, the outdoor classroom, replacement of the basketball hoop,
Mhm.
some bituminous work. So it's stuff that is theirs regardless of the restoration, but trying to make these public-private partnerships work without them thinking that we're difficult to. We don't ever want to work again, but yes, I see your point that it's just left there without the background discussion.
Or just sort of, this is an interim, we're working on reestablishing, set a new deadline. I guess that's if it's so there's a few items like that that just sort of need an update, whether or not anything has happened. It's sort of like you've checked in. Maybe, I think that would be helpful. And one of those with the Lotus Lake internal load control. I know they did the sampling. They're working on it. So what's the status of that, the wake boat? project.
Nothing yet. We're still, the data's gotten, they're still working on the report.
But I mean, they did the coring, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Did we do it, Josh? Are you back yet?
No.
Because I talked to the city and he talked about, he had a lot more information than I had. So they were, because when we were at the open house, we were chatting. And he was telling me, he showed me a map of like where they did the cores and what they're working on. And I was like, oh, So
City
the-
or to Joe Bischoff? We haven't
think
met
it
with the
was-
city at all on it.
okay. Trying to think of who,
Might have been,
maybe Joe Bischoff. Anyhow, but there was more information than things are moving along. So I was just curious where it's at.
Scott, do you know where he's at with that's what you're frantically looking for right now?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I know he's analyzing the data.
Yes, that's what I
Okay.
thought.
Cores have been collected and he's reviewing data, analyzing the data.
And that's fine. There's not a lot we can do in the meantime. It's not urgent, obviously, that's.
Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, so Zach's on. I'd asked if he could kind of give a quick summary of the soil sampling. He said he'd be willing.
Can you do it quick, Zach? There's a lot there.
Yeah, I mean, just in a nutshell,
Sure.
we ended up visiting quite a bit of residential lawns. Can you hear me all right?
I just stepped away.
No, he actually took his mute off.
You
So
guys
he
hear me?
might, there, now we can. Hi, Zach.
Okay. Hi. So, just quick breakdown. It was we had sort of a 2-part soil sampling schedule this last field season here. So we start out the summer doing our residential lawn outreach, just getting folks interested in doing some more rounds of residential lawn sampling. We ended up visiting quite a few sites. I don't remember the exact number, but we had, I do believe, close to 20, right around 20 or so places we went to for that. And got a lot of good samples and a lot of good infiltration data for that. Second sort of part was focusing on sampling several different land use types within a sort of area that had similar soils. And so that was going back out to the Prairie Bluff restoration site down there in Eden Prairie, just right above the Minnesota River, right next to Riley Creek. We did some more sampling out there, and we compared those samples then to a bunch of samples we took actually at the Spring Road site, both in the wooded area, which is a good example of like poor quality forest, because most of that is overtaken by buckthorn. And we did quite a bit of sampling then too on the open area where the existing, or the previously existing tree farm was, kind of that more open sort of fallow field, old, agricultural use field. But yeah, so we are looking for the data now. We're finally getting back our final sample reports from Cornell University Lab, and we'll be getting our soil report ready to be put with the annual report.
Are you, are you using some of the data from last year or basically kind of doing it with a more comprehensive, what you got this year in terms of like a benchmark for going forward or?
Yeah, I
how-
mean, we'll probably have some bits about previous year's data, especially, last year, since last year was the more intensive year. We had more of a focused scope as far as where we were looking and what we were gathering for soil samples. We will, at least within the soil report and the annual report, we'll probably focus a little bit more on this year and just some of those things that we were specifically looking for. Like I mentioned, we were looking at land use types, so like, prairie, restored prairie, residential lawns, different types of forest, et cetera. With that similar soils into, so we can start, really honing in and comparing on, okay, we know that there's similar soils across these sites. Given that, how are they interacting with the water differently? How are they functioning differently? So we'll probably focus a little bit more on that. But in the full soil report, we probably will have a little bit more as far as last year, and some of that data will be combined then, yes.
How was the reaction of people that had the property that you were sampling?
I mean, we had a few folks out here and there when we were out sampling. I'm sure Rachel had even more than two because she did a good bulk of the sampling at the residential lawns. But a lot of folks were very interested, talk with us about stuff. But overall, it seemed like it was a pretty positive interaction. And yeah, if we do this in the future, I don't doubt, especially with the amount of folks that were reaching out about it, that we would, I don't think we'd have any trouble getting more folks to volunteer to have their lawn sampled. So.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from the November staff report? Okay, hearing none. On to the November engineers report. Any questions of Scott?
A question. I pulled the perm number A, the Ridgewood Ponds. I just wanted to comment also on Wing Financial, ask you, that was another permit for a restricted site that triggered restricted site provisions. And I know we keep having problems with infiltration basins designed, not infiltrating, and then they fall into the restricted provisions. It just feels like that keeps happening. And this one, it says they've not conducted the required infiltration tests and doing so as a condition of their permit. Is that something that puts us at risk for, because they don't know I'm just trying to understand what that means. They were supposed to have done this testing and they didn't do it. And then they'll redesign the project if it comes back that it's a problem.
President Pedersen.
Yeah.
This is a reoccurring thing, and very typically, designers are reluctant to go out and actually do the field infiltration testing as part of their design, even though we strongly encourage them to do that, to avoid these types of situations where they're out there in the field with the contractor standing over their shoulder saying, I'm ready to build. This didn't pass the test like it was supposed to. Now you're telling me I have to wait a month because this has to go back to the board for approval. That's the situation that they could potentially be in, and it would be a permit modification that the board would have to approve. So it could potentially hold up construction of that site.
Would this, by not having done it, does that just put the burden on them for a timeline? It doesn't put any additional burden on us to try to make it work so that they can meet
Correct.
this.
That
Okay.
timeline burden is on the contractor, their designer. It was their decision to proceed this way. They know the standards they need to meet, and it's a stipulation in the permit report that they do the testing and provide it. If it doesn't pass, then it's a permit modification.
Okay.
Do we wait till something goes wrong before we move on it, or? I'm not quite understanding.
Manager Catherine, we need to wait till they actually do the testing to know if it meets the criteria or
Okay.
not.
Right, but sometimes it seems like they think they know what's happening. But
That's
then-
the one I pulled. So
Yeah.
that'll be another
Okay, all right,
conversation.
we'll get to that next. Never mind. Same line, same place.
Right, so it's mostly trying to understand this issue, so if there's anything we can address, so it's not that I'm concerned about these particular projects, it's trying to understand this restricted site access, if there's anything we can do with our rules or our 10-year plan.
President Pedersen, managers, the most common thing we see is people who maybe they don't have all the rights to the property at this time, or they would have to clear a bunch of trees in order to get in there, and like, they can't do that, or they don't have permission yet to do that, and then God's very clear with them, you're proceeding at your own risk. When they make those assumptions, we have talked about other things, for instance, under the MS4 permit, the MPDS permit, small site construction, they just say if it's a MAP D soil unit, it's restricted. We have not gone that way because there's usually some infiltration you can get. However, frequently what happens on those sites is even if they do a ridiculously low infiltration rate, we find no, it's much closer to zero than the 6/100ths of an hour, inch per hour that you thought you were going to get. So yeah, it's weighing risk and reward, I think, on both sides, on their side and on ours. Ultimately,
So it goes towards, we're not getting the infiltration, which is purportedly a big part of what our goal is, to get enhanced infiltration. So our rules allow you to not do the infiltration.
right.
So that feels like a conflict within our program.
Well, we knew that there were going to frequently be sites where they
Yeah.
just could not achieve it. So that's the one to avoid because otherwise it'd be variance on like 90% of our, so we tried to get this standard in. So yeah.
Where's that?
Where
to draw it? What authority do we have to draw a line where, just if there's something we can work on with that? That's
Time of year too, like if they brought plans in now, you can't do an infiltration test,
Mhm.
so.
So they'll have to wait.
Yeah, and
Costs money.
the other part of infiltration tests are, trying to remember who did the study. Was it Capital Region that did even the rain guard study, where you could have a couple 100 square foot area and you could take 20 different infiltration tests and get 20 different results. And that's so even getting the infiltration test isn't necessarily a guarantee that that's final infiltration.
You're cutting into my conversation for the next item.
Okay.
Okay. Shall we proceed? Okay. Next would be the November regulatory report. And I just have to say, this is a wonder that I opened this up and it's like a complete report of all of the things that are happening, which I have not really seen over several months. So this is a great thing.
President Pedersen, thank you for saying that. Andrew is nothing if not meticulous. He spends a lot of time in my office asking me questions, and which I really like. He's eager to learn. He's eager to make this program do what it's capable of doing. And I think he's really embraced his new role and really jumped into it. So,
Does anybody have any questions
Yeah.
of the report?
So under non-compliant inspections, he does the descriptions, like the first one, remove track sediment from street. So that was his comment to them because they weren't compliant.
correct.
But then we have to wait till, well, at the very last one, he's got violation summary, so that shows up when, if they don't do anything.
Yeah, so exactly. So non-compliance is just, we found something that needs maintenance on your site. Violation is you are choosing not to address a known deficiency, or you're operating without a permit or something else. So yeah, so the non-compliance ones typically will get resolved within 48 hours. They're almost resolved with a phone call.
Okay.
But this is just really what he's doing, what he's seeing out on the sites, what they're telling the contractors they need to address on their site.
No, this is all good. I just think it'd be nice to have a reputation that they're gonna do something for us, that they better do it right first.
And most contractors are really good about it. You always get the outlier, but
Oh, yeah.
most of them, it doesn't even get to the written report. It's you show up on site and say, your silt fence over there is, and they go fix it. So
Thanks.
they don't like getting the reports.
No, it's
Okay.
good. It's a good description.
And once again, we're thrilled to see how wonderful it is. Okay, receive legal report. Do we have anything? Mr.
Madam
Smith?
President, no legal report this week.
Okay. And any other manager reports past what we've already discussed during the workshop?
Save those for next time.
Okay. Okay, now we're on to the consent agenda. We've moved item A onto the business agenda. So we're looking at item B, C, and the added 25-070 for the last item. I'm looking for a motion.
We adopt the consent agenda.
I need a second.
Second.
Thank you so much, Leslie. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. None opposed. And now next on to new business. Bonnie, I believe this would be your opportunity to ask any further questions on the Ridgewood Ponds permit modification.
Yes, Scott, thank you, President.
I don't have-
So Ridgewood Projects is another facility that was going to include 2 infiltration basins for their stormwater management. They did their samples and they had their values that they assumed. And when they installed it and it didn't drain, it didn't infiltrate. So then they went back and they discovered, and I think it was the extent of what they discovered that is very concerning. It's like that there was, what did they write? Despite soil borings that indicated groundwater was 3 feet below the bottom, a test pit that they built discovered saturated soils, the entire 12-foot deep excavation, an impermeable peat layer 2.5 feet below the bottom of the basin, and runoff, basically no infiltration at all. Like, do we not do enough soil borings? That seems like a rather extreme finding.
President Pedersen,
Yeah.
Senator Nelson. The geotechnical report, they go out and do the best they can. A lot of times these geotechnical investigations maybe aren't done at the wettest time of the year. So there's the potential, if you're doing them during the dry period, you're not going to see groundwater. We look for evidence of groundwater with mottled soils. Sometimes those soil borings don't even look for that when they're out there in the field.
They
A lot
don't.
of times they do, sometimes they don't. It really comes down to who's in the field.
Okay.
We say you're supposed to, so we have to rely on what is provided to us by a licensed engineer. And that's what their engineers, then their designers rely on that information as well. So we find ourselves in this situation where you go out and you do a test pit and all of a sudden you have water in your hole that wasn't there during.
Right, it's the
investigation.
modeling and the existence of this that indicates that there's been ongoing periods of groundwater.
Of high water, groundwater saturation, correct?
Right, and so my question is, how can that be missed with the soil borings?
Well, a lot of times the soil boring, they advance their hole, measure and identify the soils as they come out, and then they immediately backfill their hole. So they don't leave the hole sit for an extended period of time where you'd start to see water coming in. Now in sandy soils, you'll see it immediately.
Mhm.
But if you have any type of a tighter soil, it can be delayed.
How long?
It can take anywhere from a day to 2 days to 3 days. It's highly variable.
So is that something we should tighten the road?
It is something we could consider in the regulatory program. As drillers, they also have to weigh the public risk
Mhm.
of leaving a hole open to the public. So that's why a lot of times they want to backfill them as quickly as possible.
So who set that standard? Who set the standard for that test?
The drilling test,
Yes.
it's an ASTM standard, so it's a nationally recognized standard.
But it's not about looking for the groundwater table. That's not what the standard is about, the soil boring test.
Correct. It's about identifying soil.
Yeah, and that's a very different than getting at, do we have groundwater, high groundwater historically? I don't know, is there a different test we could do for that or not?
One test that could be done is you could require that they install a piezometer at every site that they want to construct a BMP and monitor it for X number of days. There are, in some instances, where that a wetland investigation to determine if a wetland's present there and how the groundwater is interacting with the wetland. again, that's something that takes time, it takes money. And a lot of times our prior discussion where people don't want to do soils investigations because it's going to delay their project too long. And now I missed the construction season. So that's why we tend to put a lot of that risk back onto the contractors.
But on this one, it puts it back on them that now they're more restricted because everything's already there and now they just aren't going to get the infiltration. Correct?
To some extent on this site, I wouldn't
Right.
say that they're not getting. Had they identified this right out of the gate, I don't think they would have gotten much more infiltration out there,
Okay.
given the topography of the site and some of the other restrictions that were out there. I mean, just, they can't get the water to the sandy soils that are on the other portion of the site, just topography wise. I guess we could require they install pumps and start pumping groundwater, which is,
Yeah,
I would say, a little
that's excessive.
not practicable.
No, practical.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand this issue as we move forward, because I feel like this is an area we could work towards. If there's something we can do, I mean, that's what I'm looking for.
As Administrator Jennifer mentioned, the stormwater permit, PCA construction stormwater permit, flat out does not allow you to infiltrate if you identify clay soils on
Yeah.
the site. That
That
is
might
one
be-
way to go.
Would that be something that would be received well by like the TAC committee?
I think it would,
By the what committee?
The TAC,
technical advisory committee. Keep
Mhm.
in mind, then we're losing the potential to get abstraction off of a large portion of the district. Even any, because we would go to 0 right out of the gate, not even maximum extent practicable.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Just one comment. I see that it looks like there's a historic layer of peat in there, which is usually left over from a historic wetland.
Yeah, it's,
Should they do a historic wetland review as part of their site practice?
we do not require that President Henderson, Manager Stolbring. And in fact, I mean, Shorewood, Deep Haven, and Minnetonka are all historic wetlands. There's not a site you're gonna get there that's not a historic wetland. But that's actually not a bad idea to require an aerial review, historic aerial photo review.
I mean, that's easy. and can be
Because
done
that really
anytime.
would take no time at all. That's a very simple thing that could be added to the rules that would add $150 a cost to their time. Yeah, I'm looking at
Good
the,
suggestion. Yeah.
I think another thing with this particular site that is interesting is there's sand overlaying that peat. Right?
Mhm.
So what happened is they went out and they did a site-specific infiltration test that came back favorable.
Sand.
Right, it's sand, so you got favorable infiltration rates. But now after time where you have a full summer's worth of rain coming into this basin, you've saturated that entire sand column. Because the peat is sealing it off. So the infiltration test didn't show it. It showed it was acceptable. So we want to maximize abstraction in the district. So that's where we went. Now they discovered it won't make its way through that peat.
It's really good.
so for those who haven't seen, so this is a geotechnical report. This is the boring report. This is the boring report for that site. So here's what their geotech showed. Showed sand 14.5 feet. No water observed in the well. And again, much like infiltration tests, especially in urban soils where it's all been disturbed and somebody's been depositing fill, you never know what you're going to get. My guess is it's poorly graded sand because they got a hold of some good sand to fill the wetland. And if they would have continued further, they would have found that. So, here we get into silty sand, so that be more indicative of poorer soils, the original soils that were there. Again, but here water observed at 7 feet. So yeah, I think there are ways to do it, but it gets to the return on investment.
Yeah. And I don't expect to be able to inform that decision more than ask the question, is there places we can go with our rules and our permitting project to help situations like this?
I really like manager. Stevens'
I do too.
idea of
That
just
feels-
requiring a historic aerial photo review. Because it really doesn't take much time. They're all available now on Hennepin County's website or Carver County's website. Go back, go through it. You know, we could even use some derivation of the NRCS's, you know, aerial photo historic wetland tracker. So I think that would be an easy change to make to the rule to minimize this risk.
Yes.
So if, with hindsight right now, so what, if we had had that, what would that have done to this project?
President Pedersen, manager develop, it depends on how we would write that rule. If we wrote that rule that presence of historic wetland signatures means that it's not permeable soil, then they would have come forward with a design that met our water quality standards.
Okay.
So they would have met the 90%, 60% rate control.
So would have triggered a different solution to the problem. It wouldn't have disqualified the project. It would have disqualified the way they were doing it.
They might have to move their borings a couple feet deeper as well there. So
But like you said, the majority of the properties in this area are of that category. So,
Yeah. You know, the other part of it, and I don't even play an engineer around school, and I haven't read it in a while, but it's 5 feet separation of groundwater.
3 feet separation to groundwater. You like to look at the most restrictive layer within 5 feet from the bottom.
Yeah, so even in that scenario, they might have encountered groundwater. They've said, well, the bottom of our infiltration basin is going to be 5 feet above that, 6 feet above that. And we would have said, yep, it is. You go ahead and put it in. And then once they cut it and broke that layer, now the groundwater that was present, but maybe there was a confining layer that kept it from coming over. Now it comes over and you're back to that same situation. So. Well, we will never be able to get rid of all of the risk, but I do think there are things we can do to minimize the risk of this happening.
well, the risk is just an inadequate solution.
Or inadequate due diligence up front, and the risk to us, to the resources that we don't. Ultimately, they're gonna have to come back with something, and they did, that meets the 90% TSS, 6% TP and rate control. So we're still gonna get what we would have received had they known it was restricted ahead of time. They're the ones that had to pay for engineering twice on the project.
And the
Who are the ones
different, and
that
the
had-
different solution.
But it's also more of our staff time, more of our engineering time,
Right.
working with them. So it's not an inconsequential
No,
cost.
I agree 100%. Scott definitely would agree.
Yeah,
He doesn't like
absolutely.
reviewing it the first time. So,
But in terms of cost, because it is a public entity, there's the function in
that's
the
right.
program or in the regulatory program that the applicant has to replenish those fees.
Okay,
but if this was a public project, for instance,
School district,
yep, we would not recoup that. So,
Okay, so I think we've
Thank you,
talked
sorry.
about this enough and
Yeah.
about where to go with it. I'm looking for,
I just had one more question.
okay,
So does this back us into restricted sites then, or we're doing stuff that we don't want to do?
well, it would be considered a restricted site because they can't infiltrate on the site. Stuff we don't want to do. I guess I'm not tracking what your question is.
Are there other practices that we would want them to do in order to make this a better site? A better, more infiltration, more restoring the water cycle more? I guess that's what I think. Would it be better if they would set aside more for trees or something so that you'd have that water cycle functioning in some sections of the property?
President Pedersen, managers, there are other things we can do in the map. We will say that you can plant trees or preserve trees and you'll get, we use the Minnesota, or not the Minnesota, the Center for Watershed Protection spreadsheet. It's rather nominal, that response. But one thing we have kicked about is fee in lieu, saying, okay, you've got a restricted site, meet the 90/60, and then pay for the infiltration and we put it in to a coffer somewhere. We haven't really talked about doing it with private entities, a lot harder to work with, but maybe with road projects, public could be an easier thing to do. So there are ways that we could maybe recoup that loss elsewhere through a fee in lieu type of program.
So water isn't just in the ground and whatever. I mean, it's also, we want the evapotranspiration.
Right.
So are we creating heat islands by restricted sites that we're then allowing them to do all this stuff?
I mean, the urbanization alone is doing that, just converting it to.
I'm just thinking incrementally, are we,
Oh, absolutely.
we're allowing things to work against what our goals are. All right,
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to approve the modification permit for
Motion to approve.
2025-055.
Approve 2023-055 Richard Bonds.
Okay, I need a second. All those in favor of approving the permit modification 2025-055, please say aye. Aye. None opposed. All right, now we are at a resolution to accept the November treasurer's report and approve payment of the bills.
is it?
Resolution 25-061.
And that we approve paying the bills.
Second it.
Thank you.
President Pedersen,
Yes.
managers, before you vote on, I was going to prepare a memorandum. Because as was pointed out earlier, we do have some things that are over budget and some things that are spent down to zero. So I kind of wanted to address some of those right now. So the biggest ones are that we're seeing are general office dues and insurance, professional services are all over. Some of that is coding error. I need to go back through and review the codes that were placed on these and where they were put. But the big one, like board administration, I don't know if I just miscalculated what we were going to have for meetings or what, but that cost is the per diems. That's over. Again, overall on the budget, we're fine, but the administration portion did go a little sideways on us there. Professional services, that is engineering and legal. Obviously, legal has been involved in a lot of other things this year that aren't in a typical year. Some of them that aren't spent down at all on the capital plans, you look at Upper Riley Creek, we had really thought we would be moving on that project by this point, and we clearly are not for various reasons. So the projects are still moving forward. We still have that budget. The leftover cash was considered in projecting our levy for next year. So in February, I will have a full report to the managers about where we're at with the fund balances. So we think about that moving forward and how we want to do it. Manager DeBell and I are talking to Mary Dunn about how to have how to have a more meaningful report than this, and then two, how to have cash flow balance based upon our capital projects. So hopefully that will all be more meaningful to the managers as we get those forward to you.
Any other questions?
So
Yes.
I don't know where Tom is on this, but I mean, just because it's over doesn't mean that's a horrible thing, because it just depends on what other variables got played in and where you had to spend the money. So as long as the overall is close to where you want it to be, I mean, you set your priorities and you pay for the things you gotta pay for in order to get business of the watershed district done. So I guess for me, I don't consider this a huge error as long as other things are in balance and we're financially, fiscally sound.
And a lot of what's over, are like tiny little things that were a little bit over, and because it's so small, it just shows up big, and it isn't that much.
Yeah.
Just a couple $100.
And you knew at the beginning of the budget that the board amount was too low, because we did discuss it.
Yep.
And it was, we'll cover it from
Yep.
some other area, so I don't know if it was overall, looking at the overall number, how to allocate it, but it was.
It was a little scant. Could have used a little more.
All right, any other questions before we vote? All those in favor of accepting or adopting resolution 25-061 to accept the November treasurer's report and approving payment of the bills, please say aye. Aye. None opposed.
Madam President, I missed who moved and seconded
Oh, yeah,
approval.
we didn't move in second.
That would be Tom
And Leslie,
and Leslie.
wasn't it you?
I have Jill and then Tom.
Oh,
Wasn't me.
Bonnie and Dorothy.
I moved. Sorry, I moved on that one, yeah.
Okay, you got that, Louis? Jill, Tom.
Just write them all down.
Okay. Item C is to allow opportunities for the public to speak on the final 2026 budget and levy. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak on the final 2026 budget and levy? I am not seeing anyone.
You're good.
Okay. Okay, so that's item C. Item D is to adopt resolution 25-062, adopting the organizational chart for Riley Purgatory Bluff Creek Watershed District.
I'll move resolution 25-062, adopting the organizational chart for district.
I need a second.
I'll second. Oh,
Tom's, Leslie's seconding. All right, any questions?
I have a
Wes?
question.
Yes.
I found it very challenging to review this. The memo that he sent along later was helpful. I understand the goals of it. I'm not understanding how we can put in new positions and new people without position descriptions and us having approved those.
Okay, so the vast majority of those jobs already have position descriptions. I don't know if you knew this, but he just didn't replace a whole lot of people that left. The interns, people that have
No,
just
the new
since gone.
positions that were being created.
So before somebody gets hired for that, I mean, we would have to have a position description. I think Barry Dunn is actually kind of working on, yes,
Okay, so this is a proposed organizational
Right.
structure.
Right.
And then, because in some of them you say Liz is going to be, I'm just trying to understand how that works and what we're approving. So we're following our,
this is just for now, because we also think that what will happen with the 10-year plan is really going to get changed around because of that.
yes.
So we're just trying to figure out how to work this for the upcoming months until we can't manage as this is. Everybody's having to be very flexible is I think what we're trying to get to.
President Pedersen, manager Nelson, managers. So Director of Resource Management is an existing position. It's a change of title. It's just moving everything that is on the ground under Josh Maxwell. Deputy District Administrator is a new position. And the job description will be forthcoming. It is the realization that we don't have any succession plan in this place.
I think it's a good move. So I'm not concerned about that we create this position.
So the job descriptions will be created for planner and for deputy district administrator. The rest of the jobs that are in here have all been approved.
So why does it not say vacant on it?
Because the personnel committee has voted to move Liz into that. So that's Liz Forbes right now in her current position, and she would move into that position. That position will be split half of what she does now and the human resources aspect of this job. Going to that, so cleave out the HR that I have, and move that into that position. Planner is vacant. Water resource tech is vacant. That's what we talked about. So,
So for example, the deputy district administrator, I actually was able to get Cap Region's deputy district administrator at the watershed conference. So we're working off of that to come up with our own job description for it.
Correct, but can we assign somebody to a job that doesn't have a job description at this point in time? Can we do that? Can I approve this without, and say she's filling this position and we don't have a job to fill yet? I don't understand what it is I'm specifically voting on with this.
so it would be, right now, it is to adopt this organizational chart. That's it. The personnel handbook requires that hiring of any position, new position, that the job description be brought to the Board of Managers for their approval of
Right.
that job description. So right now, I'm just requesting that the organizational chart be approved.
And another piece of this is we were trying to outline exactly the channels for reporting. So in terms of who would be reporting to that position and kind of clarify
The
some of that.
goals of this are very clear. I am not confused about that. I'm confused about our process and what positions people are in right now, and do they have a job description, and are we approving? That is not clear with this chart or with what's been provided to me.
The GIS communication specialist is Sky, was
Okay.
Elena. Community engagement coordinator is Eleanor. E&O specialist, we have that position that has been around. E&O has been around for a while, and that is Rachel. The water resource technician, that was Andrew. No, he's not there. Regulatory program is Andrew.
Mhm.
Natural resources manager is Zach's. Those positions
Mhm.
have descriptions that work. So it's
Right.
really, it is deputy district administrator and it is planner.
And the director of research management, the position for that.
That's really a title change more than a job description change. Just, it's more fitting than water resource coordinator because there's more than water resource that fall under it. But the job itself,
Okay.
job description itself will remain unchanged. You will have one additional report to him.
Just a clarifying question. So deputy district administrator position is vacant. It's pending the job description be developed and approved by the board. Correct.
So Liz's existing position does not show anywhere on this chart.
Right. If we did not adopt this, this would just return to communication manager.
That's just my question. Can we adopt it and have her in that position if that position does not exist?
I think we can, yes.
Louis?
Just to be clear, it's the board's role to approve new positions. And you have said once you practice, I believe the handbook would bear this out, our governance policies, that you approve those positions with job descriptions. It is the administrator's role to select, to recruit, and place staff in the positions. So to me, the issue is if the deputy district administrator position is vacant right now, then nobody fills it right now until the job description is approved by the board.
Mhm.
So we need to make that caveat in the vote that it's pending the job description approval.
So the approving this chart as of today, would say deputy district administrator is the one other vacant position that's awaiting a job description to be approved. Correct?
Correct. And then you would need another, what, community engagement coordinator for Liz?
Position will go away. So I
Oh, will
don't-
that position go away? Okay, so that, she stays in that position. Okay.
until this is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So we can just put vacant under that at this point in time
Yes, the vacant, I mean,
on the
in the
top one?
overall plan, the vacant was really just kind of put in to let people know where we'd be hiring, so. The vacant will be removed from all of them in the official plan, so yes.
And just so that you know, each position is given a level. And that level we look at with multiple surveys to make sure that we're putting people in the right salary range. The salary ranges, we do several input from other salary information questionnaires that we get through the metro area and outside of the metro area and with David Drawn and Associates. So we're not inventing any of this stuff.
That has not been my concern or
Yeah.
question.
Well, just,
That's
I know
fine.
your next question will be something
No,
similar
no,
to
because
that.
we've talked about that at previous meetings, when we did the salary surveys, when we've done other things. That stuff has been discussed.
So you'll see that that's all
Yeah.
forthcoming within the last 3 weeks is what this is.
I just had a simple question about, it says I'm
Got it.
So-
required to vote on this, so.
So to reiterate. Voting on just the org chart. No positions in there. At the January 21st meeting, job descriptions for those will be brought. That time when they're approved, then it falls back
Yeah.
to refilling those positions
Yes,
based upon.
yes,
what it's been.
Yes,
The outreach manager under this organizational chart goes away. And does not exist. So those duties then get split up between the deputy and other people with it underneath it, or underneath that position.
personally, I think it's a great idea to have a deputy administrator, to have Liz take on more of the HR responsibilities, because you do well with the project management responsibilities unless we're hiring someone to do that, and have you continue doing HR, which is not the best fit for your skill set. So I think this fits with the staff we have. And it leverages their abilities and like,
So I
Talents.
understand what your questions are, and I agree with it. I get what you're getting at. So who's doing that?
Any other questions before we vote on this?
I do want to bring up one more point, because this may come up in the future. So if you'll look in the lower right-hand corner, my tiny little bullet point there. So we have talked in the past about having someone with strong accounting experience, strong up, so places like South Washington, the Capital Region, others have what they call an operations manager. That really does all of the day-to-day stuff and all of the accounting stuff, accounts receivable. If that were to happen, I'll bring this back to you, because that person would report directly to me, would not report to that. So if that happens, that would also happen at the, well, I guess I would need like audit and finance committees input on if they want to do that. I would personally actually like to move that. I was opposed to it initially, but the more I think about it, the more I talk to other administrators, that might be good. We could get lights replaced in this place. Maybe we could get all the other stuff. All right, I just wanted to make that known that it sits there in the lower right-hand corner in case you didn't see the note.
Okay, so I believe we have a motion and a second. Am I correct? Yes.
Yes.
All those in favor of adopting resolution 25-062, adopting the organizational chart, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Next is adopting 25-063, authorizing the president of the board to execute a purchase agreement for Spring Road Conservation Project with advice of council.
I would love for you to.
Madam President Managers, a brief overview on both this resolution and the one following it, 25064, which authorizes expenditure of funds and for the to complete the purchase of the Spring Road Conservation Project. So the first step is there is a purchase and sale agreement that takes us beyond the contract for deed, which we've had, which is our means of acquiring right to the property and financing in the interim. Now, in order to, especially to be able to close and also show agreement that will meet the DNR's requirements, we have a new purchase and sale agreement and related documents that are before you. And this resolution would authorize the president to execute that purchase and sale agreement and related documents. Then, once you adopt that, we'll move to the funding resolution. I have more comments about that. Happy to answer any questions.
I need a motion first. Thank you.
Second,
Thank you. Okay, now questions, comments. I am not hearing anything. So all those in favor of adopting resolution 25-063, authorizing the president to execute purchase agreement for the Spring Road Conservation Project, the advice of council, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Next. Mr. Smith, you wanted to make any other comments here?
Madam President, the next resolution precisely allocates the funds that you have available for this project through the Hennepin County bond proceeds that the bonds have been issued and the funds deposited with the district. We have an approved grant agreement with the DNR for the outdoor heritage grant of 1.982 million. We have all of the steps are in process for receiving the outdoor heritage funds, but it won't take place until sometime early next year. What we're awaiting, the primary condition we're waiting is the DNR's approval of the new appraisal of the property to meet the DNR's requirements. The DNR wants to be sure that the $1.9 million that they're providing is borne out in the value of the property that's being acquired. If you think about the math, the property has been appraised at $5.4 million, and what they're paying for is more than justified by the appraisal. But we have a highly experienced appraiser who has appraised conservation projects for many decades. That appraisal has been submitted. Some follow-up questions have been addressed. And as Mr. Jeffrey said earlier, the DNR's review of that appraisal is due December 26th. From there, because of the nature of the project, it has to go to the commissioner of the DNR to actually sign off, which they told us would be about 2 weeks thereafter. So we're giving ourselves some time into January, February, where we anticipate receiving the DNR funds. With that, what this resolution does is authorize you to allocate, first of all, the Hennepin County bond proceeds, and then allocate district reserves to cover the transaction, be able to close before January 5th. We anticipate actually before December 31st. The other advantage of that for the district is you will forego one more quarter of interest payments that are about $117,000. So you save $117,000 by proceeding to closing now with the confidence that although there is some risk that something could get screwed up with a DNR, it seems highly unlikely given the posture we sit in. So the one last thing I'd like to do to correct two pieces in this resolution. In the whereas that is the second to last whereas on page 2, It says, whereas for closing, the district anticipates allocating $4,875,815 to Carol Standel, $275,000 to Truck Development, Inc., and $274,185 to the City of Eden Prairie. I would like to add and up to an additional $8,000 to cover miscellaneous closing costs. So that we don't arrive at closing and discover you should have authorized something more. I'm told by a real estate attorney, $8,000 is more than enough to cover any of those miscellaneous closing costs. And that would then change the total number in that paragraph to $5,433,000.
You have to somehow authorize that the administrator makes that decision of those $8,000
The
or
administrator with this resolution would be authorized to allocate from district reserves that new amount with $8,000 more, just to cover that. And then where it says, now therefore be it resolved, and you see the expenditure of $2,469,178 from the district's capital improvement fund reserves. You would change that number to $2,477,178, adding $8,000 more to come out of reserves, again, if it's needed. And you'll, of course, receive a report on all the final closing costs. But I would suggest the language be adjusted those two ways just to make sure we're completely covered. Happy to answer any other questions you might have.
I'm looking for a motion.
I move to accept resolution 25-064. Is that right?
That's correct.
Right.
I'll second.
With the modifications that have been just discussed.
I'll second.
Okay, sounds wonderful. Any other questions?
Managers? You did not ask this question, but I do want it on the record. We do have adequate funds in our reserves to cover this expenditure.
You know it. Okay, so all those are in favor of resolution 25-064, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Super.
Oh, Phil, you should have confetti.
I wanted to add, well done with navigating the
Oh,
Lassard Sands grant.
was
That was,
amazed.
Whoa.
We've had a good team that worked on it from the beginning. And
Yeah.
thanks of legal and
not an inconsequential process.
Lewis talked me off the ledge a lot, whether you know it or not, so.
Okay, we're on to adopt resolution 25-065, establishing the official calendar of meetings for the 26th calendar year. And that is actually draft 2, which we discussed during the workshop.
Dylan will share.
All right.
I put him on the spot, sorry, I caught you off guard. So we know exactly. Yeah, that's for.
And it's just got the addition of another personnel meeting on June 25th. And also not on here is a special meeting we have on January 7th at 3:00 at the office. Okay, but we got the 25th on there, so that's great.
And the addition of the 3:30 PM time slot on the one, that was also an update tonight.
Right. So that special meeting is not on there, but that's okay.
Well, it's.
Because regular and
It's
board of
because
management.
it's in our
reports are-
schedule, so it's not really a special meeting. It's a regularly scheduled meeting.
All right, I need a motion.
Move that we accept the new schedule moving. Let's see, is this resolution
25-065,
25-065,
draft 2.
draft 2?
I second.
Oh, thank you, Leslie. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of 25-065, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, next, this is resolution 25-066 to extend professional services contract with Red Path for interim accounting services.
President, I apologize. I don't actually have a resolution. I meant to work with Smith Partners on this and I never circled back to it. Let me give you a background and maybe we can come up with to move forward this. Our contract with Red Path runs through the end of this year. We are transitioning over to Barry Dunn. We're going to need probably transitional services from Red Path. Mr. Welch suggested that we just extend the existing service contract. And I talked to Red Path. They said they would rather have an engagement letter. I do not have a resolution to that. I would work with Mr. Smith if there is some way to couple the two into something that would satisfy everybody. What I envision is some type of a month-to-month thing. We would just be able to cancel with 30-day notice. Mr. Smith has a furrowed brow, which tells me he doesn't like what I said. He is going to now take it in a different direction. Mr. Smith.
Madam President, I think it's the simplest thing for the district to simply extend the existing service agreement we have with them that is in a form that is in the district's agreement template, covers all the district's needs. I think a simple engagement letter isn't going to cover all the obligations we want them to fulfill. I think what we should simply do is approve recommend a board motion to authorize extension of the existing services agreement for however many months you think is appropriate. For 3 months, and leave it
That's
at that.
would be my preferred.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
From us, Red Path?
Nothing.
We need Red Path to be able to, they're gonna have to assist with the audit stuff.
Oh, I know that part, but what was it they were asking from us?
Well, they wanted a separate agreement that,
Okay.
not this one terminate.
Covering the duties.
Okay. But we can just do this.
Is that because they have different, I'm sorry,
I move that we
different rates?
That might be-
continuation of our
An extension of the existing services group.
existing service.
That may well be, so Mr. Smith just pointed out, maybe because their 2026 rate schedule is different, but even that, could we not just add an
See.
addendum that says?
An extension of the agreement at their 2026 rates
Okay,
for 3 months.
okay, I need a second.
I second.
Thank you, Leslie. All right, any other questions or comments before we vote? All right, so all those in favor of the motion to extend the existing services agreement at 2026 rates with Red Path Financial for interim accounting services, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, none. Okay, next, resolution 25-067, authorizing the administrator to enter into a stewardship partnership with Eden Prairie. Does anybody need to,
President Pedersen, managers, if you need a description, I'm gonna make Eleanor Mahon unmute herself and describe this grant to you.
hi, Eleanor.
Hello. This was brought
We
to
need-
us by,
Good.
There you go.
Now we can hear you.
you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. This grant was brought to us by Carly Whitner, who's the forestry supervisor with the city of Eden Prairie. She's been working very closely with the Friends of Eden Prairie Parks group to do invasive species removal from this parcel. There's a farther down in the grant agreement, you can see, should I share my screen? I'll share my screen. 1 second.
Jill is working
Oh,
frantically.
I can't do that. Oh, now I can. Let me see here. Okay, can you all see this?
I know.
Yes.
So right here, this is just a closer overview of the parcel in question. It is on the zoom up here. So here's a larger overview of the large Eden Prairie or Eden Brook Conservation Area in Eden Prairie, part of the Purgatory Creek watershed. The creek runs through the section of the conservation area. And then way down here, we can see the one particular parcel that's in question. This is an area that the Friends of Eden Prairie Parks group has been doing a lot of work to restore, a lot of buckthorn removal. And so Carly Whitner with the City of Eden Prairie is proposing a restoration plan for the area. It goes along a walking path, a bunch of great seed mixes that are appropriate for the site. They'll be planting some plugs as well along the steeper slopes to help hold everything, the steep slopes in place. She's very capable. I'm very confident that they will do an excellent job with the project. She's not sure which contractor they're going to go with yet. She's looking at, I think, 2 or 3 still, but I'm very confident in whatever contractor they choose that they'll be able to maintain it through the city maintenance crew, and the Friends of Eden Prairie Parks group will also be heavily involved in maintenance in perpetuity. So.
President Pedersen, manager, I think it's also important to note that this is a buffer of a large wetland complex that's there, so access to water resources protection on top of the ecological restoration.
As somebody that does smaller projects like this, I was really impressed with the wide expanse of plant materials that were chosen, plugs, seed mixes. I mean, it's a whole lot.
Yes, Carly Whitner put a lot of thought into this proposal. Everything is well equipped for the site.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none. Do we have a motion and a second yet? Well, I don't think we do. We need a motion.
I'll move approval of resolution number 25-067, authorizing execution of a cost share agreement with the City of Eden Prairie for the installation of a native habitat restoration.
I need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, hearing no other questions before, all those in favor of adopting resolution 25-067, please say aye. Aye. None opposed. Next, we're on to authorizing the administrator to enter into stewardship partnership with Bloomington, resolution 25-068.
And again, President Managers, I'm going to ask Ms. Mahon to describe this project. Well, Manager Crafton probably could as well.
I've been talking to Jack about this for about a year, so yeah, Christmas present.
Yes, managers, this was brought to us by Jack Distel with the City of Bloomington. They've been working on this project for a while as well. I'll share my screen again. So this project is a technically a water body buffer project, as it's on the a buffer of a pond rather than one of our major lakes, which is why it's not considered a lake shoreline restoration project, but a water body buffer project. Drains into the Highland Lake watershed, as it's right across the street. I will fly down here to do a close-up as well. So this is an overview of where the pond is and where the green is the proposed buffer area. So they've been working on some woody removal as well. More to come still with that part of the project, but after all the woody vegetation is removed, they'll put in some more seeds with some seed mixes that are in here as well, that are more appropriate for the site. And one of the main purposes is to kind of open it up. The trees are more of a windshield, and it'll allow more mixing to occur in the pond without the woody vegetation more in the way. So it'll be installed by RES, which is a well-known restoration company, and will be maintained in perpetuity by the Bloomington Public Works Department maintenance crews. Plenty of seed mixes that are appropriate for the site as well. Very confident that they will do a great job. So let me know if you have any questions.
No questions? Yes.
These are fabulous projects.
Aren't they great?
This is a big part of what we should be doing with the cities.
This is
when we
really
can.
great.
President Pedersen, managers, I would like to put a plug for strategic. Both of these came out of the steering committee meeting.
Great. I need a motion and a second for resolution 25-068.
Move.
Thank you.
I'll
And a second. Thank you, Jill. Hearing no other questions, all those in favor of adopting resolution 25-068, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Next, we are on to the selection of the Citizens Advisory Committee members for 2026. Thank you, Eleanor, by the way.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm assuming you're going to be bringing up the map and the people that have applied, correct?
Do that.
Thank you.
So I'd like to make a motion, but I'd like to just kind of do individual members. How does that?
However you all would like to do it. I think we have a resolution with the membership, so is this okay if we do it individually, Louis?
Yeah, you have discretion as a board to.
Okay,
appoint
however
them
we'd
however
like to
you
do it.
wish.
Like to make a motion if it's ready, if we're ready.
Okay, ready.
This would be resolution 25-069.
Mhm.
To accept, excuse me, accept the returning members and additional new applicants, Sally Morton from Eden Prairie, Ted Melby from Eden Prairie, and Ian Bagnesis from Minnetonka.
Okay. So you'd like those three people,
Yes,
and we have Ed Goff from Chan and Steve Donan from Chan that you are not including, is that
we've
correct?
already got quite a few from Chanhassen.
Okay,
Have
But
any
we don't have
Lake
anyone on
Riley?
Lake Riley, so. Be nice to have someone on Lake Riley.
mhm.
Yeah.
The other thing I think it's interesting to note is the CAC said, in order to make this evenly distributed, please don't give us two people from the same lake.
Right.
So because what they've had in the past on the CAC is overrepresentation. You were there? Okay, go ahead. That
not-
was in
that
the
was not part of the conversation.
that was in the CAC report.
I know.
Oh,
I think it's a good idea, though. to have
It's
it
not bad, but
evenly
it's,
represented.
I just took
I
their
think
word
all
for
of
it.
these three bring really good qualifications, so I think it's important to include all of them.
We have some discussion.
I would agree that we have one resident on Lotus Lake. I think that's sufficient, but the rest of them would help kind of even out where everybody is. We've got people in areas that are not represented right now, which is nice.
Any other discussion?
so are you talking about only having one lakeshore owner within a watershed?
On that one lake, like
Just, I mean, as a lakeshore owner, not somebody who happens to live near the lake or lives in that watershed I mean, because you're basically saying then one person from Chanhassen ever, or Carver County, if you,
no, not within
Kind
the
of.
watershed, within the sub watershed.
well, but that's basically all of Chanhassen that goes to, I guess
No, you got
there's,
Lucy Ann, Susan,
Yeah.
Rice Marsh Lake.
Sharon Cotter, Jim, there's other people. Yeah.
that was more, I think, as part of the consideration, but I don't think it limits it because you don't know. Right.
Tom, do you have a comment on that?
You don't know what kind of participation there's going to be going forward, and that can change when somebody gets on.
Are you asking, can you ask me a direct question and I will answer it directly?
So I guess I'm trying to understand why we're excluding people. And when it seems like we're authorized 12, and we've always had a fairly low number on the CAC. And now we're talking about all kinds of new projects, potential things, or potential involvement. Anyway, so the question is, why would we exclude?
I think I picked out people that I thought were in line with the direction we're going in terms of restoration and resilient landscapes, as opposed to more of an analysis that would duplicate what our engineer is already providing.
President Pedersen, managers, I think, I don't know how you do it, but I think you also need to consider the dynamics of the body themselves and how individuals may or may not impact that dynamic.
I think that's fair. I guess having been on the CAC before where we had more members that came from one lake, that really did create issues for us. Because they focused on only the things that could help their lake. And that was difficult for us to overcome as a group. Especially if we didn't have a month with a lot of attendance of the other members and they all came from the one lake, then that's what we ended up focusing our time on. I'm with the CAC to say one person per lake. It doesn't mean one person per entire area that the lake sits in, just one person per lake is how I think it should be, having been on a CAC with an issue. If that makes any difference.
So does that match up with what Manager
No.
Crafton said?
She's only got 3 people rather than 4.
4 out of the 5.
Right.
So who is being
I
excluded?
thought Ed Goff was, he also had applied for a manager position and had been on the Chanhassen Planning Commission. I thought
Okay.
he was a good candidate personally. So I'm not sure if there was a need to have an odd number of people, only have 11 instead of 12.
I think they also said it helps when you have ties that you don't have a tie.
Did you have an odd number?
If you have an odd number.
That was in the memo.
Okay, managers, you got to tell me what you want to do here.
Stated my opinions.
Okay.
Like I said, I would want to add someone from Lake Riley because that's a pretty significant resource and name is in our district. So I think we have someone.
I would agree with Leslie.
Add Ed?
Yes. Tom.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Then
Add.
just add that
Add,
name
add,
to the
add.
list.
Yes. Bonnie.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Right. So we're adding
Ed Goff.
Ed Goff
Okay.
to your list.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none, we had we amended that, so we had an amendment.
Okay.
You're okay with the amendment?
That's a friendly amendment, yes.
Okay. All right, then we need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Leslie.
I know, it's like Tom and I look at each other like, who's gonna speak first?
Okay. All right, so we are here to adopt resolution 25-069, setting the Citizens Advisory Committee with the 4 people that we've discussed. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, that's that. Next, we're on to the discussion of the 2026 benefit package. Do we have anything else to add to this?
President Pedersen, managers, no, I don't, other than gone over it to some extent with staff. We'll go over it in more detail, but I think they're appreciative of the thought that the personnel committee put into this. I think they're aware that it's a rather nice, generous benefit package that they might not see in other places. So I think as a government entity, we're always a little bit behind the 8 ball in salaries. So fact that we can provide these added benefits goes a long way, at least for me. Exactly. There are other perks to being here.
So the good news on this benefit package, I think, is we in fact are adding value to it this year in comparison to last year. And the fact that not many other places pay for health insurance for an individual completely without them having to pay any portion of it. I did also talk to all of the staff members about whether or not they wanted the option to have a wider network for their health plan, which would give them the ability to go to Mayo Clinic. And they all said, it's going to cost more, so maybe not this year, but please bring it back to us next year. So we will attempt to do that next year when the benefits come up again. I don't have any other question or any other comments. Does anybody have any questions at all? Nope. Hearing none. Okay, upcoming board topics. Do you want to say anything about that, Terry?
No, but you added one and I don't. Added one that you wanted me to. At least I thought. We'll go through the notes later, but yeah, those are the three definitely coming up. Oh, my.
Performance
my
review.
Performance review will be on there as well. Yeah, so Pat will be here actually next month speaking to the board. Spring Road. Yes, next month. Spring Road Conservation Project will be in March.
Okay.
February we'll be reviewing, hopefully reviewing proposals from candidates. But depending on if we do it as an interview of all of them, we may have to push that to April, just so we have enough time to interview 3 or 4 different candidates. You want to do that, so.
Okay. Seems like that's it. You'll notice we've talked about the legislative event last month, so it's just put on there again, so you have the date for it. And now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, Bonnie seconded. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, none. Thank you all.
It's just easier. Let's voice stuff.
Thank you all very much.